Excellent. Welcome to Truth in Telecoms. This is going to be one with quite a few arguments. So we have Johnny and we have a new guest for Truth in Telecoms. Noah. Noah, how are you?
I'm well.
Excellent. Johnny, how are you on this Sunday morning?
Well, Noah took the bait as he was ducking us. I got into a long conversation with him, as well as others. I've been, looking at the subject on who's really to blame for all this, right? Like, what's really going on here? Between the MEF and the TCR and the operators and a lot of the pieces that you've done. I've talked to some senior execs at the carriers.
Yep.
I've talked to two companies that have been integrated with the mobile operators for 10 plus years each. Yep. and how they operate. And innovation is not really something they do. It's something they acquire. I mean, just look at the $1.3 billion acquisition of Mint Mobile.
Yes.
An actor got $300 million for doing commercials. Why? Because T-Mobile is a marketing company, right? So they bought it. So I think I'm taking a different look at this. I've taken a different perspective based on the feedback and the screamings I'm getting. I've been pretty hard on the operators getting together and making billions of dollars. But at the end of the day, it's their real estate. No matter how you look at it, it's their real estate. If they want to charge whatever they want to charge, they can, especially if it's an information service. Yes. So until you regulate it, all bets are off. How they do it, how they did it, and how the campaign registry got started is a different story. I mean, look, my feedback is that this was started by AT&T. The bid was won by iConnective and CTIA. CTIA, I mean, they're the most negligent group out of the whole group. Well, I mean, they represent the operators. They've allowed all this to happen. But negligent where
the hands are tied by the carriers as well, as it's a highly political organization. So
the hands are tied by the carriers, but look at the MEF membership. I want you to post that. Look at the group of companies in MEF. Yeah. MEF is treated like a stepchild by CTIA.
Yeah,
I remember them crying to me when we were trying to work with MEF about, they did an event together and they put us down on like third tier billing. But meanwhile, the companies of MEF, they're the ecosystem, right? So they're the suckerfish. So they're the fish that are attached to the three mobile operators. The fourth mobile operator being Twilio /1.5/Cinch. So here's my argument. You have Twilio owns Cineverse.
Yep.
Cinch owns the messaging hub for Verizon.
Yep.
They control the messaging ecosystem. Full stop. Full stop. You have two CPaaS companies. We've never talked about that.
Yes.
We talk about the TCR. We talk about Tata. By the way, joke altogether. They have three companies that are part of the MEF. You talk about the international AIT. We blame it on the operators. I blame it on the carrier, the ecosystem saying, here's 30 million. And just don't let me worry about it, right?
Exactly.
And look, I've had conversations this week with companies that are getting blocked out of some gateway countries.
Yes.
Why? Because unless you pay that, unless you're the gateway keeper, then you're the only one that's going to send to AIT. So
exactly.
This is an El Salvador situation from my standpoint. You got to gut out MS-13, which is the entire middle ecosystem. Why are they ignoring us? Why are they not, paying attention to our truth? So, obviously, I've had this argument. I've been on flip-flopping around, but for me, I mean, look at the market caps of the carriers. I mean, look at T-Mobile. I mean, T-Mobile is really, trailblazing. Their market cap close to 200 billion.
I know.
The most valuable carrier in the world.
8 billion revenue. It's amazing.
78 billion revenue, which is 50 less than Verizon, which is at 168 billion dollars. So they're all working on 1 times market cap.
Yeah.
And then you have the creator of the spam, which was Twilio. It all happened during that period of time. And they're the fourth operator in the US as far as I'm concerned. They own the 800 registry.
Yep.
They control all the campaigns in the campaign registry, which is the reason why this thing went wild. It was in the blueprint, the same blueprint that iConnective and CTIA put out to have numbers. And now I think they do. They don't, depending on who you're talking about. But now you have a knife fight. You have net number, Proofpoint, and Aegis running events with MEF.
Yes.
Trying to take out the campaign registry. Tata put campaign registry up for sale.
Yep.
That's a fact. They've hired Lazard. Fact. Yep. It's in the market.
Yep.
What are they selling? Tata, you got nothing to sell.
Yeah.
Because they got no commercials.
Yeah.
How do I know? I tried to buy it.
Yeah.
So there's no commercials, there's no agreements. They're just sitting here in the middle of the ocean, right? And the guys at the campaign registry running around begging everybody to buy them anyhow because they're rock stars. Keep us. You know, they have no equity. Oh, I want equity. I want deals. So look, I think you have a situation now. How come? And I'm going to get to you, Noah, right now. You're in MEF. You're part of these messaging meetings, right? You're one of the outspoken, smartest guys there. There's 50, 60 people talking. And trust me, Noah, if you don't think I know more people internationally than you're wrong, because I was part of Tintech for many years. Tintech, the Cinch, the whole 9 yards. Tintech was there before anybody was there. All the Tintech University guys. Who's that net number? Dr. Marco LaFrenz, the GTC guys that put out that group. They're working with all the different carriers. I know them all. So I understand the international ecosystem. Noah, obviously, I don't think anybody understands the US better than you, although I can go there too. But let's take a look at this. I mean, from your perspective, Noah, where is the blame? How come nobody's deploying what you built? How come nobody's talking about self-sovereign identity? Why?
Well,
Just to put it on you.
that video you sent was pretty wild. That guy was talking a completely different kind of self-sovereign identity than where I live.
Okay.
So let me just be clear. Self-sovereign identity just means it's not related to some political activity. It's just related to your rights of communications in my world, right? And identity. So starting there, I think that I think when it all started, in the sense of this need for something to legitimize messaging, because back in the day, messaging, all the folks that thought they were spending too much money or took too long to get to market went to long codes, which is the 10D, what as 10DLC today.
Yeah.
And it was called long codes because the only thing out to compare it with at the time was something called short codes.
Yeah.
So they brilliantly came up with this name, long codes, which I own longcode.com. I just grabbed it as soon as they said it way back.
Oh,
because
wow.
it was like, I don't know what this thing is, but hey, whatever it is, it's going to be special. So
You mean phone numbers?
Yeah, and back then I actually thought that it was going to be a revolution in communications. I thought I was off by a couple of degrees because of Twilio's trajectory.
Yeah.
But I thought that every single business in the United States would text enable their own number and add that as a additional channel to their existing communications. I had no idea it was going to turn into this hot mess, like this dumpster fire that it is today, where numbers were rotated and all that behavior happened because operators, similar to in voice over IP, back in voice over IP, they weren't prepared for a market as fast growing and as disruptive to their existing revenue model as IP communications. It literally killed their 10-year projections because they did do 10-year projections.
Yes.
And they told their stockholders those kinds of projections as well because they were so solid on them because they knew there was no
alternative
way they were going to lose it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So really what I look at is it started with the carriers trying to say, listen, you're using this channel over here that we set up for free back and forth between our networks as a consumer to consumer kind of communications channel.
Yep, a loss leader. You bought your phone plan, you got your minutes and your data, and yet SMS was just bundled for free. Loss leader.
Yeah, eventually, let's be real. They did make their money early on when it was free.
That's true.
Those days. Let's not.
That nightmare. I've forgotten about that night. My period of $1,000 phone bills. But anyway.
Yes, you remember all those stories. So that said, the reaction was the same. The reaction was with IP at the time, oh, this isn't going to be good. It's not the best quality. It's insecure, all these weird things. And they started to block it, actually, very similar, right? They started to block it. And
well, I used to use AT&T Call Vantage, which was VoIP. And the number of calls I had with carriers where we were on a conference call and there'll be always some senior exec that's very belief-based and VoIP doesn't work. And I'm like, well, for all this call, I've been using AT&T Call Vantage, which is VoIP. And it was just It's like, yes, it does. It has for years. You can't keep saying shit, you know?
Well, that's what and it's not the people, like we talk about the people that are managing the messaging today of each of the
Yeah.
carriers, right?
Hmm.
Messaging in the carrier space, let's be real, it's not a big revenue maker, right?
No,
It's not like, especially with the P2P, it was just not there. Now
no.
they're starting to make a little bit of money, but still, if you look at the revenue, and Johnny is Mr. Financial, but if you compare the revenue to uh, the other forms of revenue, where would they
Yeah, the
make?
revenue is insane. It's right to the bottom line. They were charging zero, right, for messaging on P2P. They flipped the script and now they're charging half a penny to a penny and even 6 cents on enough. You're talking about billions of dollars
Yeah,
with
I want to
no
get
more
into that.
capex, with no more capex, right to the bottom line.
Well,
So now
yeah.
it's become a multi-billion dollar right to the bottom line for three public companies that only answer to their shareholders and run away from the FCC and the FTC, take some fines here and there, and have to deal with a lot of regulatory issues. So, look, I think a lot of the people listening to the podcast, most of them are in the industry, understand all that. I think back to the question now, you got AI coming in, right? You've got, Buffett just comes out and compares it to an atomic bomb, which is big in the news, right?
Yes.
Big
Oh, yeah.
investment. I mean, this is Berkshire Hathaway. This is the insurance industry. You want to talk about the most insane industry on the planet, insurance.
Yeah.
Buffett, right? So now you've got the onslaught of what's going to happen with AI. They can't even solve the problem of spam text or robocalls. Now you're going to tie that into AI. In a year from now, you're going to see people screaming. So I think my argument is the ecosystem has failed. The ecosystem has failed to do the right thing. Why? For profit. And getting through, and just illicit players, and who is overseeing these? Where do they sit? They sit at the MEF.
You did
somewhere in. Are you kidding?
You did cut into something really deep and accurately, and you do that sometimes with your scalpel, right? And I'll say that everyone in the middle is making money, right? And it's interesting because I ask, why the carriers impose these fines and stuff like this, right? Like who gives the right to a carrier to impose a fine? And it's actually not a fine. I found out it's a breach of contract, right? So the only vehicle the carriers have to leverage down to the aggregators to stop what's happening, the middle.
Yeah.
To put financial burdens. They didn't realize that those financial burdens are just being passed down.
Yeah.
So they're not really impacting where they want to impact.
Correct.
Not necessarily, because the bad behavior does happen in the middle. But if you're going to try and peg someone and just put the smallest one out of business, because that's what really happens in telecom, and it's happened for voice too. The big players get to survive. The smaller players get crushed.
Yes.
And that's just the way telecom operates. So when you're talking about them making billions, Johnny, isn't that isn't that the only way they make money? Isn't transport the only way they make money? So, it's almost.
I mean, if you look at their numbers, they're not, the profit margin's not huge, right? Their stock prices are incredibly inflated, but they're only trading. Only T-Mobile's trading at more than 2.5 times revenue.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, John Ledger, who I know from many years ago. Thank you, him. And thank you, the new marketing machine that they have. I mean, T-Mobile's killing everybody worldwide, destroying everybody. They're the number one carrier on the planet.
Too. There's a problem with that. See, there's when you have profit on your mind, sometimes other things can slip. Right.
They don't make a lot of profit. What I'm trying to tell you is they don't make a lot of profit. They're trading under what Twilio was trading at 20 times revenue. And they were trading at 80 billion when AT&T had 100 billion market cap. AT&T owned everything, infrastructure, you name it, right? It was a smokescreen. It was a grift. It was a complete facade. They're calling themselves a software company. Complete facade. Yeah, you lost 70 billion in market.
See, that's like WhatsApp, right? See, there's two lessons that telcos need to learn here, Johnny.
WhatsApp has no valuation. WhatsApp was bought, and
this is the whole point.
WhatsApp was created because of the international termination fees that the mobile operators internationally didn't want to cut their
This
throat
is
on.
it. This is
So
it.
it's the same game.
Same game. Now, this is why you have to understand that the carriers are in it for the carriers to try and find ways to make money from a existing network. Just
improve margin. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what is always happening.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, in the United States, they were forced for a long time to maintain a copper, like a real infrastructure, which Europeans and global operators didn't have to. They had no infrastructure for so long, so they jumped right to the right tech instead of installing all this copper like we did here to support our old phone lines. But when you look at profitability and market look, when you look at a telco, and when I was looking at valuations in telco a long time ago as well, I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is like 1 times revenue, you know,
So it
maybe
is
2 to 3 times EBITDA. And I'm like, wow, that's low. And then here comes Twilio. So what did Twilio and Microsoft really, well, not even Microsoft, WhatsApp, what did they do when they slapped or like, why did Ryan Reynolds putting lipstick on a pig sell more pigs than without the lipstick?
sold them cheaper, gave a facade, brilliant marketing, and all T-Mobile is the greatest marketing.
What did he offer? He offered a baseline service for a lesser cost.
Yes.
Instead of going higher.
But he didn't have an extreme amount of it. He had a nominal amount of subscribers, right? You're not talking about a ton of subscribers. They bought him for the sizzle. They bought him for the marketing because it fits T-Mobile. But the T-Mobile, and they bought Ultra Mobile too. That's been around since the calling card days. They used to sell international on it. So they're gobbling up all these little MNOs, which I'm amazed that you even got it done. But my point to you is we have a problem right now, which you're trying to solve with TNID, right? We have a problem that's going to get exponentially worse. You know, right now we have to, UMail is inundated. They're the biggest narc, as Czar calls him, the world's biggest narc. Everybody hates him, right? Whatever small company they built on one side, they've now transitioned to a cybersecurity company.
Yes.
Right? They're doing deals, I hear, with banks are lining up to do deals with them. They're all trying to catch the criminals, right? Because they can't solve the problem. They don't even understand international yet, UMail. So how does the ecosystem get solved? How come nobody is jumping all over you? Why are they deflecting TNID? I've been getting feedback. Why? Why are they blocking you? So the middle market is deploying. Yeah.
The middle market needs the cash, right? So what do you do if you have a solution and you make all, and the solution, there's an outside solution that can blow you right out of the water, and now you're going to be called out, right? Like what happens when your entire business model is broken down to a single database field you created around one single database field?
Yes.
Like,
that would be net number. Right? One single database field.
Let's just say that there's a lot.
You know, I was around with Iris. You know, I understand that.
Well, they're all centralized databases too. Yeah. See, this is the other thing, right? They're centralized.
And explain, you know, and then you got Somos. And you were over there. You were an advisor to Somos. You've been around for. Right?
They choose centralized. They chose centralized with me too, and that's their own choice. You can choose one or the other. You could choose IP or TDM and telecom still, right? You still have a choice, right? So you could choose to get a flip phone if you really wanted to for a cell phone, right? That's your choice. Yeah. So to me, it's when I like a good example. You just brought up UMail. I spoke to Mike many moons ago at this point. And he heard about the tech and he's like, wow, that tech is, you know, strong. It could disrupt some of our model or over half of our model. And I said, but that's not the thing I need you to look at. I said, you have such a value. You have these buoys out there. And my now ex-wife used to have these alerts come into my email.
But to their credit, they changed their model.
Well,
that model's not going anywhere.
They have to.
That database, like I did a podcast, they got $1 trillion database if they wanted to, but they're Boy Scouts.
Well,
so
if they did that on blockchain, think of the carriers. They could have a live feed into their own network at an accessible level right there and say, boop, 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 boop. Like that's what blockchain
is. We're going into an epidemic state
now. Putting the database right next to you, and it's not centralized.
We're going into an epidemic state. And I want to know why the 3 mobile operators are not talking to you. That's what I
They-
want to know. And
they've heard.
I know they've heard, but it's not being deployed. I don't know. I've talked to some senior guys. They're like, TNID, what's that? Look, I've had a couple of calls high ups. You should see my team. We do have relationships and connections. We've gone to the carriers when we made a bid for the TCR. So Rick Joyce, the Admiral, they know a few people, and the rest of my guys on my team were part of Sequent. These guys were the caller ID and the mobile operators. They dealt with the operators. The operators depend on trusted partners to do the right thing. And here they've got CPAS and they've got SPAN and you've got Twilio. Twilio made a cash upfront payment to the campaign registry, right? When they didn't even need a discount. When I told Avi Katz, by the way, Avi Katz was the chairman of Calera. When I told Avi Katz that he was giving Twilio an 80+% discount, he lost his mind. Discount? Why? They have to pay. Exactly, they had to pay. Or they didn't have to pay, they were running it through Cineverse. So there's a lot of games here going on here.
Yeah.
But he chopped that in a minute. So Twilio has bought time. Twilio, their CEO, he got fired like a dog in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Now he bought something called The Onion. Haven't got started on that yet, right? He's a hero. Why is he a hero? Because the whole CPAS industry, Cinch had a $20 billion valuation. All these companies, Bandwidth had a multi-billion-dollar valuation.
It went
but now it's over.
Yeah.
It's over, right? It's over. The problem we have, I'm here talking on behalf of American consumers because I can't be fired in this industry, nor do I care, right? So for me, it doesn't matter. But as I'm speaking on behalf of the consumers, how is this going to get solved if nobody's deploying your solution or deploying something at the SIM level, which would take all the three operators to work together, right? Mm-hmm. But and yours tied into that. I don't think a lot of people really understood your podcast. Hour 15 minutes. We put out the other one, which is getting hundreds of views, the 8-minute one.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you a question, Noah. You deal with these people. You work with them, right? I know them too. I know the people in Europe that I wouldn't let walk my dog, right? So, and I understand, look, the AIT problem, there's been meetings in Europe where 28 companies get together. What did they do? SMS dropped 20% internationally. They bit their own noses off.
Yes.
Because they couldn't help it. And now they're trying to glom up all these gateways. Why was Bird screaming? Because he couldn't get in.
Yeah.
He's like, hey guys, let me in. They're like, nah, we're gonna send our own span. We're gonna send our own AIT into the network. How does this get solved? Is this gonna get solved a year from now when politicians' kids start getting and families start getting hurt with all the AI that's gonna inundate and disrupt people's lives?
Let's get back to that. Let's get back to that.
I'm gonna stay quiet, but let's stay on it.
Yeah, the AI thing is an important thing. Why do you need blockchain? Why do you need transparency? Why do you need this solution that I have? Well, if you could see all the way to the bottom of any of those issues you brought, wouldn't it be hard to hide? Wouldn't it be really hard to hide artificially inflated traffic if you knew it wasn't really coming from the originator? Yeah. And wouldn't you really have a hard time hiding how they bury money or whatever, have these secret deals? See, that's the whole point. This industry, when I first came into the messaging side, it is so tribal. It's so different than voice in a lot of ways. There are still unique contacts, right? Like I mentioned on the last podcast, network is everything. Your network is everything. Thank God I have such a fantastic network that I've built over the years. And I've come into this industry naked. When I first came in, I begged for help. And I think that what the carriers are trying to do is beg for help in every different way. They were tired of, and I want to get to the AI thing, but I do want to get this out too. The reason they threw the TCR in play and all that kind of stuff, the existing systems were CTIA. The reason I went and started to create my technology was because of the CTIA and its paper tiger ways, unfortunately. And I do call them out now because I don't care about them. And I'm sorry, I have my own great grief. And, normally I don't call orgs out, but they've never even given me the time of day. You know, when David Diggs was there, it was the only real grown-up voice in the room, frankly, that wasn't a carrier's voice. So
I've gone to those meetings too. I've gone to those meetings where they would give the antitrust speech for the first 20 minutes back in the day. All bets are off. Everything's out the window. There's nothing protecting consumers. The FCC.
I was that guy on the call.
Yes,
Back in the day, Johnny, I was you, basically. I was the guy that nobody could keep quiet because I wasn't part of this big system that was tribal at the time. I had just come in 2007, so I was new and naked to it. And when I started to learn the disgusting things that I was learning, like how come this company can do it and that company can't? Well, that's because, oh, wait, we're not talking about the other company. We're talking about yours. I actually heard that from aggregators. Like when I would say, why is Twilio doing that over there? And I can't use the word stop in a conversational message between two parties without it getting blocked, right? How come I can't use the word stop, but they can use thousands and tens and hundreds of millions of numbers and rotate through them and just blast out, and you know it's going through your networks. It's not like there's anywhere else to go, right? So you know that these aggregators are right there watching it. And I remember,
do they know it? But that's a good point. Are they actually measuring the problem? Because I always feel it's a measurement issue. I mean, why do we consider email to be so important? Because it measures.
Who's measuring it? The hubs? Who's measuring it?
Why would they want to measure
the Fox,
it?
The Foxes own the
because
chicken
they
coops.
can skate. They
not
understand
guarding,
the problem.
They own the chicken coops.
If they identify, this is the transparency issue. If they identify the problem, they have to fix the problem.
Yes.
If you keep it hidden, now one of the aggregators was hacked for a total of, and it just went right under the rug. Go look on the internet.
Oh yeah, it was Cineverse. I did it
4
on the CX.
years. They had a hacker in the network.
5 years.
Now,
5 years.
Okay, so let me be clear of what that means. Do you actually understand that all messaging goes through those two hubs? Like even your handset?
And do you actually understand that Real Networks, which is an outside company that got delisted from the public markets and actually spun off another cyber company that hired a banker to sell themselves? Cineverse is nothing. They're just a paper tiger. They don't even exist.
Cineverse
They're
is
smoke screens. They're just to grab the money. What do they do? They don't even own their own stuff.
Cineverse was the first ones to show me that you can do business and hate someone at the same time. We hated each other for a long time, and now we get along. And it's why has that change happened? Well, there was a point they stepped on my throat for a couple of years. That could do something to your business model. And yes, that happens. And yes, they can do that. So, why do they not want to fix things, and they want AI in a sense? Let's get back to that now. AI is a moneymaker. That's not about stopping anything. AI is about making more money. Well, we talked about the carriers trying to make more money on the same stuff. It's the same bus trip every day. What can they make it better? Can they put a flashy sign in the bus? Can they give you a comfy seat? Can they put AC in it, right, on a hot day? What can they do to make that ride better? And now they're going to say, hey, we're going to have AI in it. Well, I have a very big, very, very big issue with AI.
So this is as a spam protection service? Is that what you're referring to? Okay.
So now already the GSMA and that, you never talk about the global kind of...
we can't leave the USA.
GSMA controls. GSMA is the CTIA of the world.
Yes.
Oh,
okay. So GSMA also competes with you and sells products, by the way.
Yes.
And oh, by the way, I can't join the CTIA because I'd be giving up my patent rights, but they can sell my stuff. Wait, how does that happen? Well, my lawyers said, no, don't sign that. Do not sign that. Do not sign that, because it infers that they're having you wipe your patents for free, basically. And I really did consider changing my patents to what they call FRAND because of it, which is free, just another acronym, free, reasonable, and non-discriminatory, FRAND.
Gotcha.
So that I couldn't stop anybody from getting it. Kind of like back in the day, you'd remember this, Alan, the H.323 codec. It was early codec and IP that was patent related.
Well, stay there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people weren't around back in the day, especially the ecosystem now. Stay where you were going. So they tried.
So
they
AI,
basically told you got to
AI is now being offered through these companies. Now they're scrambling. All the merchants came out of the tents. right? They're all sitting there with jewelry on, going, AI, come on, buy some AI. Got AI over here, like you did with it's in tech over here. Like they have AI.
Oh, by the way, you want to buy Tintech? No, go ahead. Only
well, this is dangerous for people.
Yeah.
I do agree with Warren Buffett's assessment that be careful of technology, and I'm afraid of my own. I've had to have AI PhDs around me to be very nice to me and saying, what if a bad guy gets their hands on this, right?
Yep.
What if a bad player gets it? What if? Now, if you don't have those people in the room and you have people saying, hey, buy my AI, this country is the only country on the planet that uses AI to sell.
Yeah.
Like, let's
well,
be
we
real
just
about
had Signal Wire last night,
Yep.
2 nights ago on a brilliant podcast. We're leading the way, own their own network. You got to take a look at that podcast. They said the same thing. I mean, it's just pretty amazing on
But
what
they
the role
built the
players are going to
guardrail.
do.
It can do, but that's
They
why with
did,
their
but there's no
platform.
oversight on it.
No.
So now
none
you've got
whatsoever.
Lazard putting out this post about, oh, they made this illegal. Everything's illegal, but nothing happens. It's illegal to
Yeah, but
snare somebody, but people are doing it.
They're saying all this. It's hyperbole, really, because
Yes.
they're not really focusing in on the true issues. Like when I saw that AI thing or even social media thing, it's like, listen, you can chase every algorithm in the world. You know what an algorithm does? It changes.
Yes.
Guess what? It's going to modify to adjust to whatever hell you're going to do next.
Yeah.
Like, you think a machine can't like come up faster? Like, think of what the NVIDIA CEO said. Trillions of transactions a second, trillions of calculations. Can you even fathom that? Like, now apply that to your walk. Did you know that in healthcare, I spoke at a healthcare summit, like World Health or something, at one point in my career, and on the panel with me was people like amazing companies that had like Qualcomm. Like Qualcomm gets up before me, and I'm sitting there talking about communications and the evolution and all that kind of stuff. And here's Qualcomm talking about sensors already, and this was like 15 years ago. Okay,
Oh, wow.
This is a long time ago. Like a sensor, like a tricorder,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
basically can pick up different sensors through your body and tell what's wrong with it. Now, why does it do that? Well, there's all kinds of things. AI can sit there and watch you walk and tell if you're going to have a hip replacement in 5 years. AI can tell the likelihood of Alan getting some kind of disease based on his hereditary data that's in Ancestry already.
Yes.
Or now you're taking AI and you're not just munging data, which just means processing it,
Yeah.
right? Call it munging. Isn't that scary? Isn't that scary? Munging. Like, I feel like I'm going to look around and my toes are going to be gone.
It's just big data.
AI
Yeah.
blob.
You click now
making me
you don't
hungry.
understand, and
I want to go eat.
Monday.
Well, AI is a tool to make money.
Yes.
If you attach AI, when does it shut off? Has anybody ever asked that? When does the AI determine that it's not a robocall and stop listening? I heard there was this thing. I saw this article about Chatterbox.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Chatterbox.
Yeah, it could be Chatterbox. I've seen that startup. Yeah.
Yeah. And what did they get sued for? Oh, they were a chat. They listened into a web chat. Listened into a web chat. Now let's take this structurally. A designer. I'm a designer, so I take the elements out right away. And I sit there and say to myself, listening, participating, two-way conversation. And then they say wiretapping. And I'm like, yep, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because the consent wasn't made between the machine and the human that was using the chat to get to the brand. So where's our T's and C's? And this is why the solution I have is so important. I'm facing so much headwinds. I want to take those T's and C's, those terms and conditions, and I want you to be able to write them. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to have a template that favored you for a change? Have you seen some of them? Like I do the stupid slot thing on just to get my brain away from like calculating sometimes. And it's not for money or anything. I just do it for the ADHD flashing light thing. And lo and behold, the terms and conditions, and we should get into those, Johnny. I really want to get into the terms and conditions, and I'd love to be invited back on the Truth in Telecoms or maybe start something up that's the truth and T's and C's. Because if you actually open them
that's a
up,
big one.
you'd be freaked. So
Oh, yeah.
like the Warby eyeglass app.
Yes.
And it's so cool to put the eyeglasses on, right? Like, oh, look at that. You just gave your biometric data to them. Did you know that?
Yeah.
In their T's and C's.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, the one that I had to really chuckle at was I signed into a Somos thing recently, and I still care about the industry, and I track what they're doing and such. And even if they didn't choose decentralized, whatever. I think their CTO was Sri had participated in white papers at the GSMA, ironically enough, talking about blockchain and how it could work for telco. So I thought it was really interesting that they still had that opinion. Anyway, that aside, when I went through the T's and C's there, it said that you have to agree to affiliates, this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. If I had taken the same use case and brought it to the TCR to bring it back to something realistic, they wouldn't pass. If they went to, they would not pass terms and conditions based on code of conduct by the carriers to actually send out texting. So they would have to change those T's and C's. You cannot have affiliates, but wait, Somos, I'm a REST board. I'm a licensed, responsible organization again. I have to be part of that group. Why am I forced to give you information then? Why am I forced to accept terms and conditions based on a marketing type angle as opposed to, you're supposed to support me as a REST board? Right? That's your job. I'm a responsible organization. You're supposed to grow the industry with me. You're supposed to support it, and that's it. Not take my stuff and sell. That's not what you do. Anyway, the AI side of it, though, when you think about these companies, whether it's T's and C's in Somos or T's and C's in that one that I went to in the gaming site where it basically says arbitration clauses and you can never be part of a class action against this parent company. So let me get this straight. So if I find out through AI that you like playing Tetris or Words with Friends or whatever, right? Sudoku or whatever. All I have to do is leverage their terms of service against you and you can't sue me. That's kind of crazy, right?
Exactly.
What if you're not changing it? The carriers have very extensive arbitration agreements that they make you sign that if you want service. That's not going away. That's why you won't see any antitrust case against them. And I don't even think there is. I think the ecosystem needs to look at itself. And I hope we bring some awareness here.
The carriers need help. The carriers need help. So the TCR, I want to go back to that real quick too. The reason the carriers chose the TCR and is what I was told. The reason that carriers chose the TCR is because
AT&T chose the TCR. And then everybody went with it.
Thank God somebody, I hate to say this, the other choice, it was the better of the shitty choices, okay? The other crappy choice was actually iConnective with their lockdown mentality of
would have been 10 times the price
and 10 times the cost for nothing. And we'd sit here and talk about that instead, saying, wait, what is the value here? And they'd create a value. And that's why the carriers were so easily convinced to do a startup as opposed to a incumbent, like a whole bunch of incumbents. Doesn't that say it all? Their own trash stunk so bad that they couldn't even stand the stink anymore. They had to go outside and get something fresh. And they did. I always called it milk, like going to get fresh milk, you don't want sour milk, you're not going to go back. So they went and got fresh milk. And now everybody's yelling at the TCR. And I say one thing about the TCR. It may not do what everybody thinks it can do, but I could tell you what it did do. It put those carriers in the same playbook. It sounds horrible to say that, right? But it put them on the same page. Before that, there was no opinion. They'll never get legitimized, Verizon would say. And this will never get this. And then slowly you saw these cracks in it where That's why you saw this rush to get something out.
But the short code registry, that was unified, all the carriers used it, and it worked.
It's not the same. See, the short code registry, you would have to register at each, first off, you'd have to have a direct with each carrier, meaning you'd have to have that much business. So there's one barrier. If not, you have to go through an aggregator. Number two, you have to literally, there is no APIs. Imagine that. So you wonder why Twilios and all these people beat up the telcos and the WhatsApps, because they did telco better than telcos.
Yeah.
Right? That's why.
Yeah.
Pipe, better than telco. You know, why did it take off? MySpace, better than slideshows at your house, you know, or Facebook, better than, you know, sending letters to people or whatever. I don't know.
I don't understand the case for Facebook, but anyway.
No, well, don't forget, Facebook, this is the thing that we have to always be aware of. Facebook, Mark Zucker, the Zook, what he said when he started Facebook, come to Facebook. We'll never sell you anything. We'll never sell your.
Yes, exactly.
It's your place. Remember that?
Yeah. It's an advertising company. That's all it does. It just advertises crap.
Yeah,
and
anybody does a
they
blank
sell to people. You want to talk about scams? When I support some of the scam baiters, the folks that catch the robo scammers and stuff, and I love them. I hope they all come to me because I'll support all of them at the lowest cost they've ever seen because I believe in it. I believe that they should get access and stop those scammers because I want to learn what they're doing too. So Facebook is a big one. Facebook, you know, when you hear those people that say that they have a pop-up and it says that their computer's been breached, Facebook allows that.
Yes, I know.
Facebook is the one who drags people in.
Yes.
And one of the scam baiters that I deal with, Ray Shepard, what a great guy that guy is too. He's the same name as a friend of yours, right? But that guy ends up hearing people in the background when he catches people, and he's like, "My job isn't done until the center shuts down." Now,
correct.
Because I hear all those people screaming at old people in the background for money.
Exactly.
And that makes me sick. And you know what? That's what we should be concerned about. And how can you protect that? That's another reason.
But it's the only way to control the ecosystem because the point we're making is it's all these suckerfish in the middle is the only way this is going to be solved if we regulate. So there is...
Well, lightly regulate. Regulate is very heavy and slow, right?
Yes.
But there's a new form that should be coming, and it's a light touch. You'll see that they're doing it with texting. Like they pluck out little things, even though it's an informational service, it follows all TCPA things, which is interesting. You don't get email. Do you get TCPA violations in email? So your point about regulation versus unregulated, they call it out as regulated, store and forward like email. You didn't put TCPA violations on email, but you put it on texting.
Because the interface, but email is perfect. I have all the shit that I need to deal with. That's in my inbox. I have all the marketing crap, all the social media crap, and then all the spam. And I don't look at the social stuff. I don't look at the spam. I just look at the stuff I need to respond to. It's beautiful.
Welcome to my world. This is where we're going. This is what we're providing. So now you just described it as brilliantly as always in one sentence, and I take my whole life to describe what I do. And that's it. I'm creating a communications inbox so that you can decide what you actually want and don't want and what happens to it. Except I'm going to add that communication element to it so that you can now prioritize it. I always wanted an email to be a certain, like if I'm involved in a big project, I want certain emails to not me going and create a rule. I just want, this is where AI should fit, right? For me, and say, when I have an important deal I'm working on, I want that communication and I want it delivered to my phone via text. I want it going into my inbox, and I want it coming to me in text, SMS, when if I'm stateside, and if I'm in Europe, I want it over WhatsApp. See, predefined. Simple as pie. Did I say AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone, Orange? None of them. I don't care about carriers, and I'm in telecom. I care about them. Don't get me wrong. I care because they have an important level of the network they need to maintain.
Exactly.
Stop overstepping and get back to the work at hand. Get the network better. Get the enhancements of innovation and partner with the folks. To your point, Johnny, I met with T-Mobile and we're waiting.
Well, it's funny you meet with T-Mobile because they're the only one. They're trying.
I'm waiting. Like T-Mobile is the Un-carrier. There's where I wanted to start. So
they're leading the way. They're trying. They care.
They need to try harder and pick up the phone and call me back because there it is, right? Like,
hopefully they will.
Call me back because I need to get this. Like they and Verizon have something that I could plug my stuff into in their network and still have it off network, but in their network, so it would be invisible to the consumer. And imagine having a day without spam and robocalls. Just one day. Imagine. Just one day in your life that you didn't get interrupted. And let me tell you, I'm ADHD. I can't help it to look, right? Like,
well, the time wasted on just sifting through all that stuff and then thinking about it is a whole nother ballgame in itself. So look, hopefully they are listening. And I mean, obviously we started getting our audience back after we've been banned quite a bit on YouTube. I mean, so I'm hoping. I know they're listening. I know the ecosystem's listening because I see the views.
Yeah,
we see. I mean, people aren't liking our stuff, but they're listening. So I think look, I think we got to channel this, and I think we need to really come back to this. I think we need to make this the theme of Truth in Telecoms. I started this for a reason. Well, one of them is because what they did to my buddy Bill Peters, and if you Google me and Alan, we're being sued for subpoena. So they're trying to sue me and Alan in a different jurisdiction. This is how much of a clown show it is. And you bought a dog. You made a mistake. You were informed of all this stuff. The guys at the campaign registry, I know you like some of those guys, but one of them tried to frame another guy, which is going to come out. And we're not done with you there. So Noah, bottom line, ecosystem's broke. I don't want to go too long because we got an hour and 15 minutes with you. And who can watch an hour and 15 minutes? But I think we sent some little shockwaves here to the industry, Alan. And I think we got enough content here. And look, I've been chasing you now for months. And I know it's not fun and people poke you for talking to us. And I've got other people saying, I can't like this, I can't like that. You're brave even coming on here with us because they can't fire me and Alan. But, hey, Cloud Communications, how come you're not talking back, Alan? How come you're not calling it back? You sponsored us. What happened? Did TCR join you? So now you're the clown. Now you're the Clown Communication. Now you're the Clown Communication Alliance. So look at the membership, Alan. Post all the membership of MEF, right? Post them. And look, like I said, they're important if it's handled right. But it's who's got the most money, who's paying the most money, who's running the show. And I don't know. Czar said he was shutting it down. I don't know.
Well, MEF,
5,000 lawyers.
It's because these people, there are, like I think you said, there are good suckerfish and bad suckerfish, right?
There's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of good companies. I know plenty of them.
And I deal with some really good people at the TCR. Okay, so like I know
you've been defending them to me left and right. Listen, I have no problem with 99.9% of them.
I know a lot of people that other people get treated differently, and I always am shocked, like when I hear that people get treated differently. And I don't know about that with the TCR. All I know is that
there's also the agents, the vetting. Look,
I'm going to try and work with them to fix some of the stuff. They can't do it alone. They got a lot of crap.
They're for sale. Why don't you buy them? They're for sale.
I don't think they need to be. Well, first off,
we don't want to get into this. The whole tech team is in Taiwan.
I think
so guys. The whole tech team is in Taiwan. They got 30-something of their employees are all foreign owned.
Well, they can
this is critical. This is critical. They can solve it. They're not going to solve anything. They think it's okay. But that's another conversation.
Let's try and get this concluded. Okay.
I don't want to start fighting with you because I want you to come back, but I'm ready to jump into. I'm ready to jump to the phone.
I want to focus. I want to focus on.
I'm not going to sit here and kiss your ass either.
No.
So I think we have. I appreciate where you're coming from, and you know what, Alan, we should end it so you'll never come back again.
No, I appreciate it too. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks a lot, guys. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.